Hi, my name's Amanda Easton. I'm a performer, singer-songwriter from Sydney, Australia. I make retro-inspired theatrical electronic pop. But when I'm not doing my own music, I do
cabaret,
cover band gigs,
solo gigs,
tribute shows, recording sessions. Welcome to my Circle of Light vlog.
But I'll be watching you from here.
Good morning, how are you? I hope you're well today in this crazy world of ours. Hey, it looks like I've got the David Bowie stars kind of makeup on my face. It's the window, of course, the sun coming through the window. Kind of weird. I've been now officially in lockdown for 2 full weeks, and now the country's pretty much in lockdown too, so it's feeling kind of different. I don't know how it's going in your country where you are. Obviously, there's not a lot of good news around, but I'm going to try and keep things positive. But one thing I've really been thinking about with 2 weeks of no gigs, and obviously I lost, my entire income. How many of you are out of work? How many of you have lost your jobs, or at the very least your job has completely changed? And if you worked in a kind of job that could go online, hopefully you've been able to do that. But it really makes you think about how important your job is to you. I feel like I've become Stepford Mandy, and my main job, I feel, and don't get me wrong, the people in my house are being extremely supportive and not expecting me to do everything, but I feel like I need to be a hunter-gatherer and make sure we've got enough food, and make sure the cupboards and the fridge is organised and the place is tidy and hygienic. And of course you need to do these things to a certain extent anytime, but it's become extreme and it's become a lot of my main focus, which is really weird. And they tell you that your job, your work shouldn't define you. But I really feel like my work completely defines me. Hello. Smokes, you going to say hello? Here she is. Hey, it's nice to have my little mate here with me. So yes, I feel like that, of course I'm a mother and I'm a friend and a wife and a whole lot of other things, but I feel like being a singer is so much a big part of my identity, and that's the way I like it. I feel like that it satisfies so much of what I want out of life, and so suddenly not to have the gigs and not to be gainfully employed in that work has felt very, very odd, and I'm sure a lot of you are feeling that kind of thing as well. And obviously a lot of people have lost their jobs completely and it's been a tragedy financially, but not to make light of that, I also know some people who have lost their job and are going, yes, I hated that job. This was the excuse I needed to get out of that job. So it's really interesting the way, this work thing has affected all of us. And I think of how much I live my life around the fact that I sing. And one of those things is, I hope I would look after my health anyway, but I look after it from a different point of view because I'm a singer. For example, lately I've been having a little bit of a glass of wine or a glass of Baileys at night and with dinner. And you could argue that we need to have our, alcohol more than ever at the moment, but I would never have done that before. And partly the reason is because alcohol is really drying on your throat. And when you're doing 4 or 5 gigs a week like I was, and, one gig is up to 3 hours, then you need to have, hi Eugene, nice to see you. You need to have that stamina, and so you need to have a really robust voice, and a little bit of alcohol every night could be a dangerous thing. And I keep telling myself it's only been 2 weeks, it's temporary, these things don't have to become habits, and I'm going to make sure of that. And one thing I thought of too is, you seem to dress a certain way depending on your work, even if it's not necessarily the real you. Like you always hear about newsreaders sitting at their desks and they've got the posh shirt and tie on and they're actually just wearing undies or something underneath because you can't see below their waist. And I wonder how many people are doing their Zoom meetings and they're all posh on the top, but on the bottom they're quite different. And I had a friend who posted something on Facebook recently that her young son looked in her wardrobe and said, okay, that's that part, she's a singer as well, that's that tribute show you do, and all these memories come out depending on what piece of clothing you're looking at. And you know, your clothes definitely represent you, don't they? And you know, you might do something completely different at work than you do at home. And I've now got a wardrobe full of Fleetwood Mac style clothes, probably what I'm wearing today in fact, that I wouldn't have maybe normally been attracted to, but that's become part of who I am. So you know, our work is so tied up in who we are and what we do that having that taken away suddenly and unexpectedly is kind of weird. And, you know, I've probably forgotten how to put false eyelashes on because that's something I used to do all the time. And, of course, you could say that, you know, especially looking around, you see a lot of people doing online concerts, which is so fantastic and it's so great to see. I haven't felt compelled to do that. I feel like I'm not missing music per se because I'm still recording it and writing it and singing it just at home, even if it's not for an audience. I definitely miss the performance. But when I think of gigs, I think of packing up all my costumes and, you know, getting to the venue and setting out all the costumes and opening up my makeup bag. And it's all the rituals. And it's saying hello to all my bandmates and the sound engineer, and then doing the sound check and going over some lyrics and sitting in front of the mirror, if you're lucky, that has all those little light bulbs around the edge. Sometimes we sit in a broom cupboard, so it's not always that fancy. But even in my mind, that's where I always am before a gig. And doing the warm-ups and, I don't know, all of that ritual thing is really what I've found like I'm missing, because that is harder to replicate, especially the part where there's an actual audience that are right there and you can, you know, have a chat to them after the show, and all that kind of stuff is what I'm personally missing. But I know it's going to be temporary, so I'm... Hi, Peter, how are you? Nice to see you. I know it's temporary, even though we've just been told in this country that it's going to be a minimum of 90 days lock-in. I was actually expecting 6 months, which it still could be, I guess. So, you know, it's not too much of a shock. But also you see a lot of people being extra creative because they've got a little bit more time. And I definitely had a rush of creativity in my first 2 weeks. Broom cupboard, yes, I was talking about having a broom cupboard as a dressing room. That has happened. In fact, I'm putting together, from a lot of the footage that I've taken over the last little while, a little video that highlights all the different backstage areas that I've been in the last 6 months or so. And they range from absolutely beautiful luxury, not so many of them, to a broom cupboard, or to another one where it was basically just a slightly curtained off area, but the entire back wall was glass. So this is a dressing room and glass is see-through. So anyway, that's something that I wouldn't necessarily miss. But yeah, this time has been a time where a lot of people find more time to be creative. And I've already written a couple of songs and have definitely got lots of ideas to be creative, but part of me almost feels pressured. You've got to release an album during this time, or you've got to make sure that you tick all these boxes and use the time wisely, because, you know, it's been given to you and you have it, and so you need to do something worthwhile. And while I totally agree, I stressed myself out yesterday because I didn't feel like I achieved anything great. I did tidy up the cupboards and I did disinfect all the groceries. Oh gosh. But I didn't create anything. And I also think this time has been given to us, if you want to see it that way, as a time to reset and a time to have some space. And so I kind of stopped myself eventually the next day from stressing out and thought, yes, you can focus on achieving some of these creative things, but you can also just stop for a second and just breathe and think, okay, I don't have to rush off to a gig and I don't have to do the things usually associated with my work. So what are the things that are really important? What do I miss? What do I appreciate? And then when you feel settled and when you've had that space, I think then you're more in the mindset to be able to create that thing anyway. So these are my thoughts for this week. I really hope that this hasn't treated any of you too disastrously. I hope we can all get through this together. I'm about to, well, I just have uploaded, and I think it's going to appear in about 10 minutes, an interview that I did as part of my Stage Stories fortnightly interviews that I do as part of my vlog, an interview with Australian bass player Victor Rounds. And if you know much about the Australian music scene, you no doubt have seen Victor on stage. He's, needless to say, an amazing bass player, but also a very inspiring, kind, humble person. And I really enjoyed the interview I did with him. I actually did it on Valentine's night because we had a gig together with the First Ladies of Soul that we both perform in. So it was done before all of this. So we'd probably talk about gigs that end up not happening. But it's kind of nice to have memories. I remember when we did gigs. I remember when I went out of this house, apart from going to the mailbox. And that's actually, it's my second last interview that's out in the world before I switch to the brave new world of Zoom interviews. Anyway, hi John, how are you? I hope everybody's doing as well as they possibly can do in these really weird times. Please send me a message, and if you feel like a vent, I'm more than happy to listen, and I hope to see you soon. All the best.
Truth will show when you stand so close, eye to eye.
So I'm here backstage at the Eastern Lounge, and unfortunately that hasn't been named after me. This is EASTERN, and it's very exciting. We're doing a First Ladies of Soul show, and tonight I'm going to interview bass player Victor Rounds, who's one of the most highly sought after bass players in the country, probably, definitely in Sydney. It's a tiny little backstage area, so I'm going to have to find another spot to interview him, I think, but I'm sure we'll find something exciting. You can hear sound checks already happening. That's Kimmy on the drums. Woohoo!
Till you come back to me, that's all I'm gonna do. One more time. Till you come back to me, that's all I'm gonna do.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you
how
so
are
much for joining me.
My friend.
Not that you had a choice for joining me because we're working together tonight anyway.
Oh,
I
that's
just
all
managed
right.
to grab you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, right,
thanks
yeah.
for this little opportunity.
Oh, I appreciate it. So let me see. Why don't we start with what you're working on at the moment?
Musically, I've actually got my finger in the pie on a lot of things.
I know you would.
So it's really hard to.
You can just give me like the top 3 or something, because there's probably too many.
Well, besides teaching, I've just finished a stint with Ray Beadle
Yes.
down at the Thredbo Blues
I
Festival.
saw some of the footage. It looked amazing.
Yeah, it was. It was a fantastic weekend. I did that, working on my house in Fiji, building a house.
I know.
building a
How
house.
exciting is that?
It is. It's.
You're not
it's
going to leave
no
us
friend.
though forever.
I hope not. No, it's not. It's just building a house like everyone builds another house to go to, so to
Oh,
speak.
yeah, nice. In Fiji
Only
though.
in Fiji. And I don't know. I guess the third one is just doing bits and pieces around Sydney, which I'm
Freelance
sure
like the rest of us.
freelance, and
Yeah.
we're enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know, we all do that. We all enjoy it, don't we?
Yes, we love it. What is your most regular, even though it's probably still freelance?
Yeah, it's well, my regular, which regular,
Ish.
irregular, is the live karaoke band down at the boat shed on Thursdays. Yeah,
People actually get up and sing with you guys.
absolutely. It's
What
the
is
best
that
thing.
like?
It is the best thing.
Fun.
It's never been heard of overseas, because we even have visitors who come in, like say from New York or
Yeah.
LA or even London town, Europe, and they say, we've never seen anything like this before. This is such a great, fun thing. And you get up and you sing in front of your own band, which is what it is.
And how many people want to do that aren't professional singers? That they
yes,
might have done
exactly.
a back and take thing. It's nowhere
Exactly.
near the same.
Exactly. So we start at 9 o'clock in the evenings, and at 9 it's quite empty.
Yeah.
But all the serious wannabes,
Yeah.
they come along, and so they test their song out, they test their metal on us.
Yeah, it's
And,
great.
and we provide, you know, we do the best we can. We sing harmonies.
Yeah.
We play properly.
Heaven.
And
So then they go, oh yeah, I play with Victor Adams.
I don't
They put
think
it on their resume.
Yeah, imagine that. No, but yeah, that's. I look forward to that on Thursdays. It's actually not my gig; it's Dario's gig.
Yeah.
But he's so busy making
He's
money.
doing baby animals, isn't he?
He's doing baby animals, but right now he's just doing what we do, just casual
Yeah.
stuff, you know.
Yeah.
He's got a better gig somewhere else
Yeah.
on a Thursday night.
Wow,
But
that's
I'm
pretty
happy.
good.
Yeah, no, it's great. So it's a trio.
Yeah.
Brad Johns, myself, and Kimmy.
Mm-hmm.
And great lineup because we all sing and we sing
Exactly.
BBs and all that.
And can people just choose songs out of the air, or do you have a list?
We have a list. We have a list of about 100 or 200
Yeah.
songs, and we know most of them.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge to do songs outside of the list, and
Yeah.
people come up and mention a name, and if we don't know it or one of us knows it, we'll give it a go.
How
Or we'll
fantastic.
jump online and get
Have a
called.
quick check.
Yeah, and then just do it. So
That's
It's
amazing.
fun. It
I want to
really
come along. I
is.
didn't even know you did that.
if you want to have a scene, come early.
Yeah,
because
'cause it gets so
around about
popular.
11:30, the riff-raff come in and they're
Yeah.
all drunk and pissed and
April's on in Cuba.
all the time.
Yeah.
So every time there's there's about 5 or 6 Aussie classic songs.
Yeah.
And whenever that happens, including horses.
Oh.
But before that happens, I always make an announcement, and the announcement is this. Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for Australia's national anthem. So I may start the riff like that, or we do Akadaka
Yeah.
or anything. I always make the announcement, because
Yeah.
everyone is, what is it going to be?
There's a few national anthems. It's yeah.
Stuff like that. So yeah, it's good fun.
You love it, don't you?
I think it's great.
I mean, music. What do you love most about doing music?
Playing with people that have got the same enthusiasm as me, and we do it for fun. It's not
Yeah.
serious, and yet
But it's
people
you
listening.
do serious gigs, though.
I do serious gigs, but I just get a kick out of chemistry
Yeah.
happening on stage at that moment. Anytime, it could
Yeah.
be with anybody. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be the best musicians in the world. They could be the worst or whatever, or who've got 2 left feet or whatever.
Yeah.
It's all about if it's
vibe.
happening, it's
Yeah.
happening, and that's, I don't know, maybe you get to that stage in your life where you've travelled, you've done the journey, and in the end it's like, I think I've just about,
You've ticked a lot of boxes.
yes,
Yeah.
and you've done just enough, and it's like, what else can really make me happy? And I think, just
Yeah.
meeting people, strangers, and playing music with them.
Yeah.
If you don't connect, you don't connect, doesn't really matter, it's not, no one's perfect.
Yeah, that's fantastic. But it was interesting when I was looking up your bio online, because I thought I knew a fair bit about you, but obviously I don't know everything. And it's really interesting, all the people that I've interviewed so far on this vlog, you've
Yeah.
pretty much worked with all of them in a lot of the same projects. So there's the Jenny Morris connections, a lot of the same people.
I'm
Living
such a player around, aren't I?
Daylights and yeah, but it's amazing how many. And I only interview good musicians, so
Yeah.
it's obviously there is even though I didn't necessarily knew that you'd worked with all of these people, it's all this circle, and
Yeah.
you've all done such amazing things. And I even interviewed Denise DeMarchi recently,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I noticed the Living Daylights was. The band that she was in the 90s was on one of your credits as well.
Yes, yeah, I
Yeah.
played on her album.
Yeah, so it's just all this. It's like that. Have you seen that Hollywood thing with Kevin Bacon? There's something like 6 degrees of separation between Kevin Bacon and everybody in Hollywood.
Mhm.
Maybe that should be the Victor Rounds thing in the music scene.
Well, if you want to compare it like that, yeah.
You've always wanted to be compared to Kevin Bacon, haven't you?
Okay. No, that's good. Yeah, thank you.
So you've toured and written here and overseas with some amazing Australian legends, like people like Renee Gayer. Jenny Morris, who I mentioned earlier, Tommy Emmanuel,
Tommy Manning.
Tina Arena, who
Yes.
I'm a big fan of, and so many more. But when I was looking through your list, I was a little bit surprised to see Rick Astley and the
Yes.
Monkees.
Absolutely. I was a monkey at one stage.
You were actually a monkey.
We were a monkey. It was Peter Northcote, myself, yeah, a few other players. It was great. It was
So when you say the Monkees, I mean, that was like a manufactured band as far as I know, that was kind of meant to be the new Beatles.
well, it was the three original monkeys that came out,
Right.
without, who was the...
Davy Jones?
Davy was in the band, Peter Tork,
Okay.
and the
I
drummer.
know Davy Jones was the heartthrob, that's why I remember his name.
No, he was there. He was great fun. Davy Jones, Peter Tork, who's the drummer? The mad guy. I forgot. Anyway, it was the other guy who, Mike Nesbitt.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that song, When I Go to Rio.
Yes,
Someday he didn't come, but so there was a show put on, well, they organised an Aussie tour for them, and this is back in the 80s.
Right.
And they were still like at their prime.
Yeah.
So they came out and, yeah, we just did their show all over Australia. It was,
How fantastic.
it was good fun.
I should be kissing her. Why am I missing her? I should be kissing her.
Yeah, because I remember the cartoon on TV when I was little. Hey, it's the
yeah,
Monkees.
exactly.
That's how I know the Monkees.
Oh, I see.
And I think I always thought they were just...
Cartoon
Yeah,
characters.
basically,
yeah.
but I thought that about the Beatles too,
Oh,
until
really?
I
You
was
saw- oh
told.
my
When I
God.
was very little,
Oh
but
my
you know
God.
they had the Beatles, that Hard Day's Night cartoon
Yes,
used to
that's
run
right,
forever
yeah.
in daytime
Was
TV.
that your first exposure to Beatles?
I know. I grew up in a family where, I know it's very embarrassing.
Shame on
I
you.
don't tell everybody that, but I grew up in a family that loved opera and classical music.
Oh,
so
right,
that's
okay,
the
that
music
makes-
I grew
yeah,
up with.
yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
So when I
Makes sense.
discovered pop, it was the stuff on the radio and at school, and you know I was too young for the Beatles,
Yeah.
so that didn't come to quite a lot later.
Yeah, until it
And-
all sort of fell into place and it's
Yeah,
like, okay,
the
these characters
Beatles.
have come from real people.
Same with Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley
No,
was a
you're
movie
kidding.
star as far as I was
Oh, okay,
concerned.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'd seen the movies that they would play on Sunday morning,
Yeah,
and I thought, well, that I knew that he sung in the movies, but I thought he was a movie star. That was his thing.
yeah.
And
Oh,
it's so,
wow.
can you imagine the embarrassment on both counts when I kind of went, oh, I thought, do you
Hey.
know, musicians?
Oh, look, I'm sure we've all been embarrassed before. One time or
Yeah,
another.
oh, it happens to me all the time. And
No,
so how
that's
about
good.
Rick Astley? Because Rick Astley has kind of come back as a meme, hasn't he?
He
Like
has,
he pops
yeah.
up on the internet as a thing all the time, and he was just such a massive success in the 80s with
Rolling Green. Yeah,
that one particular song,
Never
which
Gonna Give
was
You Up.
Never Gonna Give
Yeah.
You Up.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. Okay, I don't know whatever it is, it's not right on the teleprompter. I don't know what that is. I've never seen that. Okay, but yeah, I can't read it. There's no words on it. We'll do it live.
Because of the memes, do you reckon
yes,
that that's
absolutely.
reinvigorated his
Rolling
career?
Green. Is it Rolling with Rick? And also, it would have. I think he was sort of slowly reigniting his career in England. He never actually left, if you know what I mean.
Right, yeah.
'Cause
We
if
just
you walk
stopped
into
hearing
any,
about it all the
if you
time.
turn on any pop radio in the UK, chances are you would hear "Never Going to Give You Up"
Fantastic.
within an
We
hour.
all want
you
that
know?
kind of song, don't we? Just
Well,
that one song that they play
Absolutely,
forever.
yeah. So yeah, so this what happened was the promoter put asked Paul Gray,
Yeah.
Paul Gray, bless his soul,
Mm.
to put a band together. So it was just a five-piece band. It was Paul Gray on keys with backing vocals,
Yeah.
and that's the other thing that make us sort of
In
economical.
demand. The
Yeah,
fact that you can
if you
sing,
can sing and,
but really
do
well.
DVs and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it was Paul Gray, Fab on drums,
Yeah.
over there.
He was my drummer in my original project for a while.
Was
Love
he?
Fab, yes,
Oh, he
years
was
ago.
great.
Yeah.
We just got it for the vibe. You know,
Yeah,
just,
and you guys
what a
would
great
get on
feel.
so well.
You know.
Yeah.
John Bettison on
Yeah.
guitar and vocals.
Yeah. Another singer, musician, really makes a difference.
Another brilliant
Great
musician.
singer too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Myself and Nick Bringardi from Melbourne,
Yeah.
who supplied all the glorious sounds and all the.
Which would be fun for a piano
Ah.
player that's that way inclined.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So he was like the professor on synths
Yeah.
and keys and all that. And yeah, so we did that twice. He came out once and then again a couple of years later.
Yeah, nice.
Did that again, so which was nice. But I hear he's coming out again soon.
So no doubt you'll get to do it again.
No, this time he's bringing his English band.
Oh,
Oh, they sounded pretty disappointed that they couldn't come out.
yeah.
And I think Rick went back and told him what a marvellous band he picked up in Oz.
So
I mean,
they've
to come
really
back
picked
and do
up
two
their
in a
socks.
row,
Yeah.
yeah. But look, that's great that he's coming over, but he's not
Yeah.
coming over as the main act. He's supporting Aha. I think
They're coming back
out.
as well.
Yeah.
How cool! The 80s thing is just
Isn't it being
revival's
revived, isn't
amazing. Yeah.
So I mean, good luck to them. So
Yeah.
that's what's happening, and yeah. So we just carry on as like we normally.
And you go and
just
move
do
on to the
gigs.
next thing. But you've also
Absolutely.
done a lot of musical theatre. You've done Fame and Rent and Thriller, some of that overseas
Yes,
and in
yeah.
Australia. I've always, when I started out, I actually, I had a big corporate job and I decided I wanted to leave to do music. And the furthest I could kind of see ahead, because it was just such
Yeah.
a new thing to go into for me after the big corporate world, I imagined myself in musical theatre.
Okay.
And I actually started doing auditions in that area, but
Yeah.
can't really dance.
And was that one like the criteria?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was an absolute criteria.
Yeah.
Unless you were a star. If you were a
Yes.
name already, then they would just put you in one of the lead roles,
Yeah.
and the singing was more important.
You wouldn't have to
Dan-
really-
well, you'd have
yeah.
to dance a bit, but they wouldn't teach you enough to get you
Okay.
through. But basically, when you're starting out in musical theatre and you're going to be in the chorus,
Yes. Yeah.
you
Of course.
have to dance.
Oh.
And so I soon realised that wasn't for me. I did dance classes for years, and I tried to, and I improved, but I'm just
Oh man, that's disappointing.
I know, right? But I mean, it's funny because I love what I do now. I
Yeah.
love the band scene, and
Yeah.
I'm quite a theatrical person, as you probably noticed.
Yes,
and I
yeah.
just, I guess I bring that to what I do.
Well, I
and,
think
you know,
what you do so well. That's why you do so many different shows.
yeah, I guess the cabaret side of things.
Different themes, like tribute things.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
fantastic.
it makes sense.
And
for
the thing
my
I noticed about
personality.
you actually throw yourself into that part, which is
Yes.
fantastic. You know.
Yeah.
A lot of artists don't do that.
Well, they're probably cool.
Well,
I'm
I know what
not.
you mean. No, I know what you're saying. You know, it's
Yeah.
like too cool for school.
Yeah,
you know, it's
yeah.
like, well, look, if you're going to do the show, I mean, do the show.
Oh, look,
You don't-
if you're going to do anything, you've got to commit to it, because
Absolutely.
otherwise it's more embarrassing to watch someone that's only half
Yeah.
there. You
Well,
know?
that's right, and especially if you're in a situation. If you're on your own, fantastic. But
Yeah.
if you're in a group situation, and you're the one that's standing out, you know, the others
good.
aren't going to look really, you know. And it's not all about pulling focus. It's all about you're doing your gig,
Yeah.
and the others are like tagging along.
Absolutely. But I've always, I've put that to the side, and I know I'm never going to be in musical theatre, and that's fine because I actually really do love what I do
Yeah.
now. But I've always wondered what it's like. So tell me,
Yeah.
how does it, especially because a lot of the music theatre people that I know only do that.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
they can't compare to what we do anyway. But you have got a foot pretty firmly. I mean, you probably do more the rock world
Yeah.
and musical theatre, but you've done a lot of it. So how does it compare?
It's well, the thing is, being a musician in a theatre, in the musical situation, is like it's still us and them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we don't get really involved because that's a
You
whole.
feel
different-
further away?
Not further away. We're just another group. We're just there to provide the basis of their sound while they do all that. Which, personally, I think it's fascinating just watching them go through everything like that. And it was like, wow, this is hard work.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
really is hard work, and I mean, we just sit on our fat asses and play the show, and then stop and listen to dialogue, and
Yeah.
the next one's coming. But seeing them, it's just
They have to put everything into it because
they're in that the whole character. They're in
Yeah.
a character, even off side of stage. It's not this they get off stage and go, hey, how's it going? You know, they're just like,
they have to stay. Yeah.
go on. So you don't do any of that stuff. It's when the show finishes and they've got another half an hour, 1 hour of like dressing down, wiping makeup off and all that, and then we go and meet them at the pub or something.
Yeah.
That's when you meet the real.
And you do mix. It's not as if
Absolutely,
it's an us
no,
and
no,
them
it's
thing
not,
then.
no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But I just have total respect for people in theatre.
Yeah.
Because man, it's just such an
It's
art,
a
a
hard
required
job.
art. you know.
Yeah, it's the actual job is difficult, but it's also, it's hard to stage theatre nowadays
Yeah.
successfully.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know the stars in theatre probably get paid well if you're a name, but I think the chorus or even the smaller parts that aren't well known, I don't think it's hugely well paid, is it? Not the musicians, but the
No,
the
you're
actors,
right.
singers.
Yeah.
They get a lot out of you for the wage that you get.
No, you're right about that.
Yeah.
That's why I always wonder about community guilds or like societies and how they stage their own version of their shows. And I'm sure they're doing it for nothing.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
I did that. I did amateur theatre because my lack of dancing was okay in amateur theatre. But that's kind of what gave me the love for it because I grew up when I was a teenager and even younger.
Yeah.
You know, one of the very first music theatre things that I did, it was like pantomime. Right?
Yeah.
And I was really young. It was a pantomime that was actually written about me and another boy.
Yeah.
He was a fair bit older than me, but a boy that went to our youth group kind of thing that we went to. So, and that boy is now the Prime Minister.
Is that amazing?
So that was Scott Morrison, and it was written about, it was Scotty and Mandy, who's my big brother.
Wow.
And this is why. How is that?
Absolutely fascinating.
I know. But how can this person and his parents ran the local music society and were in all the shows. They were actor-singers themselves, amateur. Yeah. And they were so entrenched in that community and for years and years and years did these shows. Yet they go and cut the arts department in the government. I don't know how someone could grow up through that.
Yeah, maybe his heart wasn't really into it. Maybe it was just the passing phase. Yeah, I think he was just keeping the parents happy or something.
Maybe. It's a bit shocking, but we're not here to talk politics.
Well, no, but I'm just shocked.
I know, it's a bit of a shock,
like,
isn't it?
Bloody hell. It's about as revealing as where I live at the moment. Joe and I live in our street.
Yeah.
It's renowned for having Johnny Howard, our former Prime Minister, who lived there as a young Liberal member for Cogra, I think it was.
Yeah, right.
You know. And it probably explains why the street has retained its original form. It's like those old-fashioned wide streets with lots of trees, and there's still a few original Federation homes there.
How nice.
Except for our block of units, which is like really daggy.
Well, you got a good spot there. So how about when you were a kid? So you were brought up in Fiji?
Half Fiji and half in Australia.
Right.
We migrated here, my parents migrated here in 65 and 67. We came out in 65 to test the water, and then went back and then waited for our papers, and then we came over as migrants.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why?
67. You know, you're probably too young for this, but in the 60s, you had a Prime Minister here called Robert Menzies, and he had this White Australia policy.
Yeah, I've certainly heard about it.
Yeah, so it was just based on merit. And so, I mean, Australia needed migration, then you had the Snowy Mountain scheme, so you needed lots of labour to come over. So basically they were focusing on England and that Anglo-based demographic to come over here. So a lot of them came out here, but they came out here on the £10 bounty system, whereas we paid the full fare.
Right. And you were just looking, your family was just looking for new opportunities.
Well, exactly. Well, my dad, they were looking for skilled labour. And I mean, the means test was really mean, which was kind of strict.
Was strict about the English, even to people that didn't have English as a language.
No. Well, that was one of the criteria. So, I mean, we had to master the English language.
Yeah. Was that your first language?
Yes. Yeah. But I spoke a lot of languages back home. Yeah. We just all did. You know, it's a multicultural society. We spoke Indian, Fijian, a bit of Chinese, a bit of any other island that was there, Ratuman, Samoan, Tongan. My mum was Tongan, so I spoke Tongan. She spoke more Tongan to me, and I answered in English, but I knew what you were saying, you know. Yeah. I think a lot of that stuff happens today with, multicultural European families. Yeah. And, and Dad was a skilled carpenter. Right. So he applied to come over as such, and he was successful. But back then, it was like I said before, come to Australia for 6 months, check out the lifestyle, and then go back. And it was such a big shock for me because I'd never been in a place where there was just all white faces. You know.
Oh, was that the biggest shock there?
Absolutely. And I was too scared to open my mouth because I couldn't speak English properly.
Right. How old were you?
I was about 10.
Oh,
or
so old
11.
enough to be aware of that stuff.
Yeah.
I bet there must have been other changes though, other differences.
Oh yeah, well, the
Like
culture.
food and
everything.
yeah,
It's just like
especially in those days.
yeah.
I mean,
And
I
we
love
had to dress
Australia,
up.
but-
Yeah, I mean,
and to wear shoes.
oh, and go to town. You have to dress up to go to town.
I know, my mum and dad were big on that too.
You know, mum would dress up with gloves and handbags. It's like we're going to church. No, we're just going to the vineyard. Or we're going to the Coles in the city.
It's the big city.
We're going to Coles. We're going to David Jones. We're going to Grace Brothers. We're going to visit Hyde Park. We're going to St Mary's Cathedral. Let's catch the bus. Let's like, son, do your tie up properly. Do all
I
this.
love it.
I didn't have a suit, so I wore my school uniform. So it was. And then we went to the Coles cafeteria in the city, which was the thing. And so look, those times, I actually have fond memories of it because it was kind of like Australia, innocent Australia, trying to find its way. It still wasn't too sure. You know, are we really the colonialists that we're supposed to
British,
be?
trying to be kind of British.
So, but it took me a while for me to realise that. I was, when you're 10 or 11, you're not mature enough to sort of comprehend all that kind of stuff. But yeah.
So when did the
Funny days.
music come from?
Oh, the music was always there because Mum was a piano player.
Right.
And she
Professionally?
played, I guess you can say so, yeah. I mean, professional music in Fiji in the 50s and 60s? Nah, I don't think so. Just everyone played.
She did a lot of it though.
She did,
it's a musical nation though, isn't it?
Oh, it is, very much. I mean, when you're born as a child, when you grow up in like your peer groups and all that, you learn how to climb a tree, ride a bike, swim, cross the river, pick mangoes, slingshot bats, fishing, play percussion on biscuit tins, play the ukulele, play guitar. Everyone had. It's just part of your growing up period, you know. And it kind of started like that with my gang, my local gang. But Mum was always playing piano, and she had rehearsals at the house all the time. And as my brothers grew up, they all had a band each.
Yeah,
so yeah,
right.
it was like But when you're a child, you're not really paying attention, but you're absorbing it.
Definitely.
Subconsciously absorbing it, and then when you get to your teens, it sort of comes out a bit and you go, oh, I remember this. Then you start picking up. But at a very early age.
So at what point did you twig that this would be something you wanted to do as a career?
Believe it or not, in my early 20s.
Yeah.
I meant to, there's two things I really loved, music and flying aeroplanes.
Really?
Yeah, so I always wanted to be a pilot, an airline pilot. And I kind of prepared myself for that. I went to high school at Morris Brothers High School, North Sydney.
Oh yeah.
And I got my, as they call it, university entrance subjects. So I got all that, and then I enrolled with the Qantas back in my day.
Yeah.
They had a Qantas cadet scheme, like pilots, and they were training their own pilots. So I signed up and I was successful.
Yeah.
But I deferred for the first year. So when I left school, which was 18, 19, I was playing in bands by then.
Yeah.
And I was loving it, and I thought, I'll just defer 1 year.
Just to do a bit more music.
Yeah. And then back then it was great because it was, in my time in the 70s, it was like American social sort of screaming, like what is it, like social injustice, I kind of like followed the black trend, and I was reading up on their fight for, just for basic freedoms and all that. So I grew an afro, I had a goatee, I was really anti-establishment, and that kind of like affected my music as well. Mm-hmm. So I started gravitating towards, like Sly and the Family Stone, Jimi Hendrix, Iron Butterfly, all these music that sort of captured me. Yeah. Curtis Mayfield. Yeah. Just people that had messages, about social injustice and all that. And so that kind of flying was like flying. Oh yeah, I'll just defer another year. So I deferred 2 years.
You did too well at the music, and it just took you away.
Yeah, well, not really that well, because in the early 70s. There were known bands out there making money out of music, but I never thought I could make money out of music. My parents thought, okay, you've achieved your education, time to get a job now, And all my siblings had proper jobs, settled down and all that. And I don't know, you just kind of, you just fall into music.
You do sometimes,
You
yeah.
just decide, I'm going to be a musician.
Yeah.
It didn't happen with me.
Yeah.
I just let it.
It was
just
around
rolled.
you when you went with
Yeah,
it.
I just flowed with it. So my 20s was just spent flowing.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and anyway, Qantas, the cadet scheme shut down, and my parents were like,
You missed the boat.
you know,
You missed the
well, I
plane.
got the whole bollocking. It was like, we brought you here from Fiji for a better life, a better education.
That's what they
and
would have
you
been
want to be
thinking.
a...
You could have been a muser in Fiji.
Yeah, well, that's although, but because my dad didn't do any music, but because my mum and siblings dabbled in music, they considered it just a fun thing, part-time.
Same with my parents.
Just weekend family gatherings, but after that Monday, have you got a job?
Yeah.
No. Always, that kind of vibe. It was only after about, not even my 20s, I think my mid-30s, when my mum and dad realised that I was actually bringing home the bacon. But before that, they just couldn't believe that a musician could make a living.
Yeah,
amazing.
I can understand.
And
that.
it took me a few years living with them, because I was
Yeah.
boarding with them. I mean, I had girlfriends and all that.
Yeah.
It was convenient to come home.
Of course.
With the laundry.
Get the nice meals.
Yeah, I lost the flat, so where to go? Mum said, come home. And then you go home and then you pay and board. Like, I wasn't living free. I had to show them. I said, oh, Dad, here's my thing for the week. And it's like, where'd you get this from? Oh, really?
That's
Yeah,
great.
it took them a while.
It's great that they did, come around and
They
realise.
came around. My mum was more sympathetic with me than my dad. My dad still
Because
was
she
old
was a piano
school.
player, that's
Yeah,
all at
absolutely.
least, yeah.
And she thinks why I got so involved in the music was that she played right up until she was ready to give birth. Like, when she was thinking of
Definitely,
playing
it's
the
come
piano like
through.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
So she reckons, being exposed to that was the reason I carried on.
So is your dad like, it's all your fault?
Yeah.
But now you're a dad and you've got two grown-up kids who are both carving really successful careers in the arts.
Yes,
So
they are.
how was your attitude different to your dad's?
Totally different. Back then, before I was even contemplating marriage or even kids, I always dreamt that when my first child comes along, if it's a male, I'll always name it after a particular bass player that I know, and that I'll give him all the love that I guess I craved from my dad. But my dad was, when I was born, my dad was 52.
Okay.
And Mum was 42.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like one more for the road kind of thing.
You've got a lot of older siblings?
Very old, yeah. Like
Right,
a
big
gap of like
difference.
10 years,
Okay.
and then beyond that.
You were the
see.
special surprise.
So, 2 years before me was my sister. So
Right.
my sister and I kind of grew up together. Like
Yeah.
that, We held each other's hand, and we loved music, and we talked about things and all that. But yeah, so.
So there was a bit of distance.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I never really grew up with my older brothers because they obviously
Already
after
out.
migrated to Australia and blah blah blah. So I
Yeah.
never grew up with them.
Yeah.
I just grew up with my sister and my local gang.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it is.
And so when did Abe and Amelia start showing interest
Science, hey, oh boy, straight away, as soon as he came out of the mother's womb, that was it,
Really?
yeah.
Drums?
It was like, yes, for I don't know, for some reason I have no drums in my house. Back then, had plenty of music,
Yeah.
lots of music.
Not drums, but that's what he went for.
Yeah, he just gravitated towards drums.
Yeah.
And I remember 3 days, we did Coogie's, Selena's at Coogee on
Yeah.
Saturday night, that was with Jenny Morris, and Abe was born on the following Tuesday. Well, his mother came down just fully bursting,
Oh.
and apparently, according to her, she says, as soon as we kicked in, it was like all this like,
So-
get me out of here, get me out.
That's gorgeous.
So, I mean, that's just a little example. I'm sure he would have been absorbing stuff that I was playing at home, you
Yeah,
know.
definitely.
And so he gravitated towards drums when he was like even close to one. You
Yeah.
know, just I gave him chopsticks and all that kind of stuff.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was good. So, but like I said before, I wanted to give my firstborn child more love and stuff that I mean, I got it from my parents, but they were like an older generation.
It's a different generation,
It's
and
a
there
different-
wasn't,
yeah.
especially dads when
Yeah,
it's,
dads,
it's
they
hands-on
can't.
and
Dads from that generation could
stern.
never take their son and say, I love
I
you,
love
mate.
you.
You know,
That's
no,
so
it's like
true.
to see my dad, like to get an audience with my dad.
Yeah.
Check this out. I had to go through my auntie and then up to my mum
Really?
and then to dad. Well, it's the old bloody, you know. Dad's in the lounge, don't disturb him.
And
he's
it's
got his
Dad's
leg
chair,
on his-
right? You can't sit on that
and that's
chair.
it, all that. He's got the big newspaper, you know.
Oh,
You know, when it's
yes.
glasses, are like when they drop the papers, like,
My
you in
dad's a bit
trouble.
like that
You know?
too.
So it was all like that. It
Yeah.
never, no bad things ever got to Dad. It had to come stop at Mum, and Mum would go, what happened? What went wrong? Right, the belt. You know, punishment.
The dad did the belt or the mum did it?
No, Mum.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
Wow.
like, I mean, you can't do that today.
no.
But, you know, we're pleading for not pleading for our lives, but pleading, no, don't, whack,
Oh,
whack,
wow.
always around the legs, around the calf muscles. And if the belt wasn't there, the garden's full of hibiscus bushes, so the hibiscus branch is the
That's
favourite
worse,
little weapon.
right, surely.
Oh, you just break one off and you just rip all the leaves out and say, come here.
Ow. Wow, that's why you're so
Yeah.
well behaved.
Maybe, I think, I'm like a total freak out. What was that?
Oh,
No,
wow,
no.
interesting.
So, yeah, I mean, that kind of discipline I didn't mind. I really didn't mind at all because the islands, you know, the families are so close-knit and everything,
Yeah.
and you dare not. It's not like, I want to be an individual in the family. No, you're not.
No.
Wait till you grow up, then you can do whatever you do.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you stay here and you live under these house rules.
Yeah.
It's pretty much like that in Fiji, you know.
Yeah.
And then you've got the church, who is kind of like a little bit more soothing, and
Yeah.
you know. But yeah,
Wow.
life in the islands, man.
Gosh. And you're going to have one foot back there with your
One
house?
fit, yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Lovely.
Just go there on a casual basis.
Yeah. So how about, what would you say is your proudest moment in music?
Woo!
It's a hard
There's
one.
been a lot of proud moments. I'll tell you what's been the highlight in
Yeah.
my music, and it's not actually playing music or anything. It's a little secret, but I think everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
I shared a joint with Paul and Linda McCartney.
No.
Yeah, at the end of the tour that we did.
So you were
This is 1993.
Supporting
We're
them?
supporting,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know what the tour was called, but it was a world tour.
Yeah.
And they came to Australia, and
You were Jenny Morris? Yeah.
Jenny Morris got the support.
Yeah.
It was great because
Oh
so we
my
did every
God,
capital
how
city in Australia.
fantastic.
And we became, you know, close, and we just talked like nothing. There was no special rules
Yeah.
backstage like there was with Prince.
Yeah, don't look him in the eye and all
Yeah,
that
all
kind
that
of stuff. Yeah.
And it just got to the stage where we just liaised all the time, you know. And mind you, back in the day when Linda was around and Paul, they really enjoyed their puff, you know.
Yeah.
And it happened after every concert. Although I didn't sort of go and indulge with them,
Yeah.
but yeah, there was always an after show party, and you meet the dignitaries from the city, wherever it's Perth or Adelaide, Melbourne. You got the town there, and all the councillors and, you know, a few politicians. They all gather up at this penthouse suite at whatever hotel it was. And the band was invited, so I'd be in there. I'd come in late, you know, and I'd be there with Sunil De Silva.
And Sunil, yeah.
Yeah, we hung out together. And they'd be waiting. It's like, God, where's Paul and Linda? You know, and the party's waiting. And sure enough, they'd come in later. It's always like half an hour later. And they'd come in, and God, they just looked like couple of stone kids. You're like,
Aw,
amazing. He had
nice.
this tattered old bloody baseball cap, an island shirt, baggy khaki pants, thongs. Linda, pretty much the same thing, hippie chick. And they'd all come in, and they're all sort of like, you know, and they'd come straight towards me and Sunil. It's like, oh, how's it going? Everything was good. Saw the show tonight. It was fantastic. You guys are like this. And, you know, we're talking. I'm feeling uncomfortable. I said, you got a whole bunch of dignitaries there waiting. He said, oh, I suppose we better go. Yeah, and we're talking. And then there was one stage where I said to Paul, I said, that aftershave is too strong, man. I don't think it's covering it. It's like, oh.
And
It's
you know
all
how
right,
the
it's all
eyes
right.
are really bright red to give away.
Yeah. Here, take these glasses.
Oh.
Yeah, and they were great, just down to earth.
Really?
people.
How
Yeah,
great to hear.
down to earth. So,
How
and they-
exciting.
It was good. I
Look at
wish.
people, you'd be going, he's a beetle.
Yeah.
I mean, I know when I was a kid, I thought they were cartoon characters, but you knew better, so you're like, it's a beetle. Talk to a beetle.
Yeah. So you work with Tim Reddy, eh?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, he'll tell you the story. 'Cause I think he shared the joint as well.
There you
And
go.
another guitar, Mike Kahn.
I work with Mike Kahn all the time as well.
Okay,
And
well-
both of them have been victims of my vlog.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So,
Yeah.
and I do remember, I think it was Mike that didn't smoke
Right.
at all, like not even cigarettes.
Yeah.
But because the joint went from Paul to my lips, I was thinking, I'm never going to wash my lips again,
Yeah.
you know. And then it went to Linda, and I think it did, because Mike was just standing there, you know. You
Yeah.
know how Mike stands with his hands behind his back.
Yeah, he's such
You know,
a calm presence.
Very calm.
Yeah.
And so Linda just like, oh, okay, and gives it to Mike, and I'm going, hello, here we go, this is going to be a first.
I have a feeling he's told me this story. Were you out on about? I think I remember him
Oh,
telling me
nice.
something.
And he
about
sort of took it, and I thought, this is going to be great, and he just took it like casually, you know, like I smoke.
Put it in his mouth.
Handed to, I think it was Tim after, and Tim was just giggling, I could see he was just giggling inside, just chuckling. And I thought, that's all right, mate, that's a special moment, how dare you not accept it, you know.
Yes, exactly. What are you going to do?
But it was great, and Paul just talked about, we didn't talk shop, we
Yeah.
talked about life.
Just stuff.
Yeah, in fact, we talked about Fiji.
Yeah.
Because he's very good at making conversation. He sort of make you at ease and
Yeah.
you're the topic of the conversation.
Oh,
As much as I was
wonderful.
trying to bounce it back to him.
Yeah, yeah. You
It was
wanted to
like,
probably
no, no,
find
no,
out stuff
yeah,
about
yeah.
it.
But
Nice.
there was a lot of things that I found out about him that I just go, oh, okay. And I had to just make out that I wasn't shocked.
Yeah.
And inside I was shocked, like, wow. You know, how like the first time he said he turned vegan.
Right.
And it was because they lived down, they had a property down in Sussex. Yeah, Sussex. I always think it's like Sussex.
Right.
Anyway, they're down there and they had a lot of farm animals just walking, you know, just around the garden and all that. They had, I'm sure they had those alpacas and
Yeah.
sheep and all that. And they had this little favourite lamb and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And Linda always cooked for Paul because Paul would have a different meal to Linda. Linda
Right.
was always a vegetarian or
Yeah.
vegan. And when he was having this roast one day, and then Paul just remarked, he said, oh, where's our little, whatever, a name of their favourite
Little
lamb?"
Baba.
Yeah, and she said, oh,
In the pot.
you're eating it.
And that turned him off.
That's
food.
right, he said, that was it, never again. And
What a
on
great
that tour, the catering, it was like the best
Yeah,
vegetarian
of
I've ever
course.
had in my life. It was all based on her cookery book, on
Right.
her recipe book, all vegetarian.
Yeah.
And people just ate on site. No one left to go and buy a hamburger or anything. They make veggie
Even if they're not
burgers.
vegetarian, because it was just such good
Well,
vegetarian.
apparently the immediate English crew that travelled with them, Linda and Paul said, look, you guys are welcome to leave and go and buy your own food if you like. You know, sometimes they like chips and gravy or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody left.
Nobody did, 'cause it was so
Everyone
good.
was healthy.
Yeah, how
Oh, yeah,
nice.
they felt well. And it's amazing what you can do with a humble potato. you know?
Yeah. Oh, if you're good at it.
It's- Wow, amazing food.
Yeah.
Lots of lots of preparation. Lots of, especially for vegans and
Yeah,
vegetarians. Lots.
definitely. Gosh, it's hard work.
But,
Yeah.
man, that explained why everyone was healthy and you know,
Yeah.
bright and no one was on a
Everyone
down.
played well and
Yeah.
everyone got on well. That's
Exactly.
so great.
You know, feed the soul.
Yes.
The soul feeds back. You know. So anyway,
You know what?
it's time to go.
It's
We've got
almost
a
time to
show.
go. I know
Yeah.
we've got a show. I can hear the Miss Elm, interestingly enough, is the
Okay.
name of our support act. And of course, we
Okay.
have
Really?
Miss Elm's in our band.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And she's probably going to crack the whip at us if we don't hurry up
Okay.
and go. So can I ask you one question to finish up?
Sure.
And if you had, I'm sure you impart a lot of wisdom as well as actual skills when you teach people, but if you had one thing that you wanted your students to leave with, one thing to keep in their mind when they get out into the big industry, what would that one thing be?
Watch your back.
Oh, really?
Watch your back and choose wisely.
Wow.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
always remember we're not perfect, so we
Yeah.
all make mistakes. But yeah, watch your back
Yeah.
and choose wisely.
I like it. Well, thank you so much. I could sit here and talk to you forever, but we do have
we
work to
can.
do.
We talk off camera.
Yes,
Just go and have
absolutely.
coffee and relax.
Champagne.
Champagne's bubbly.
Yes, lovely. Thank you so much for your time. I so
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Truth will show when you stand so close, eye to eye.
Stay well, everybody, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.
And I'll be watching you.